You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and today I am doing this episode solo dolo. If you guys didn't know, this is going to be a Ask Me Anything edition of 49K Pod, so it is just going to be me. You guys are just going to have to live with that, okay? But before I get into answering some questions, I think I got to talk about some of the latest 49ers news that has come up this week. There's been quite a bit of things that have come up and definitely got some things to talk about here. First off, we have Baker Mayfield getting traded to the Carolina Panthers. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with the 49ers? Well, I mean, it pretty much leaves the 49ers in no man's land when it comes to a potential trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. This entire time we've been saying that the Panthers made the most sense as a viable trade partner for Jimmy Garoppolo. And as we suspected pretty much this whole time, they have been looking for a quarterback, another quarterback to add or potentially trade for. Unfortunately for the 49ers, the quarterback they decided to trade for is Baker Mayfield, not Jimmy Garoppolo. See, the issue with Jimmy Garoppolo is the fact that he still has not thrown the ball since he got his shoulder surgery. So that kind of screwed up the timeline completely on any potential plans that this team had or any other team had to trading Garoppolo. So, I mean, I don't know what really happens at this point. I really don't see there being any other team that would potentially be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo. You can throw out the Cleveland Browns as a potential team. But then again, I was on the Zaddy Ball pod yesterday with Jason and Leo, and Jason made a really good point. He said you're not going to, blow up your plans to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo unless there is, a very significant uplift in what you're going to get from Jimmy Garoppolo in comparison to what you currently have. The Browns still have Jacoby Brissett after Deshaun Watson. So even if Watson has a long-term suspension this season, I think they're okay with just rolling with Brissett. I mean, I don't think the difference between Garoppolo and Brissett is dramatic enough to, make a move for Jimmy Garoppolo at this point. We know Garoppolo is better than Brissett, but again, I don't think the difference is that steep that you're going to blow up your plans to make that happen. So I think they're perfectly fine with rolling with Brissett. And again, the 49ers and Garoppolo are kind of in this holding pattern until, one, Jimmy Garoppolo can throw again, and two, if and when a position for a quarterback opens up somewhere, maybe by injury or something like that. Which I don't know if the 49ers can even wait that long. I mean, if I was the 49ers, I would cut him at this point, but I could see them holding on to him and waiting to see if an opportunity pops up. If another quarterback does get hurt and, come scrambling for a quarterback, I think they might wait for that. And we're not going to like that. I don't like that. But I can totally see that happening. I would not be surprised. The worst case scenario is if, of course, the 49ers end up keeping Jimmy Garoppolo throughout the season. That's something that they cannot let happen. Let's get to some of these comments. Melissa, thank you so much for coming on. Dude, Melissa is the GOAT, okay? She helped me out with this AMA edition of 49K Pod. She got so many questions. And not only that, she, encouraged other people to ask questions and shared and retweeted my post. So, Melissa, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate you a ton. Amin, what up, man? What's up? And Ryan, what's going on? Ryan asked, what's the deadline to cut Jimmy before he counts towards the cap? That's a good question. I don't know if I know that off the top of my head, so I'm not going to pretend that I do. But yeah, let me circle back on that one, and I'll find out after this. Or if anyone who's watching knows the answer to this question, let us know. All right. But besides the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing, like I said, I think the best case scenario in this situation is if they just release him at this point. When that will happen, I really don't know. I think they're going to wait to see. They're going to wait till he can start throwing again and then maybe see if someone is interested at that point. But I don't think anyone will really be interested. So we're just going to keep waiting, I guess. So we've done it all off season. I guess we can do it another month or so. All right, another bit of news, not really news, but just something really cool that happened. Trent Williams became the first offensive lineman ever to get a 99 rating in Madden. That is awesome. That's amazing. It's obviously well deserved. The best part about all this is the fact that you remember that he is a cancer survivor. It was not that long ago that he was dealing with the news that he potentially may not be playing or even living much longer. And here he is years later, and he gets all these accolades, all pro. He's still one of the best at his position, maybe even the best in the NFL right now. And again, obviously he's the best. If he's the first ever offensive lineman to get a 99 rating in Madden, I don't think you can really argue about him being the best left tackle in the NFL, or just any tackle in the NFL right now. So kudos to Trent, man. He deserves everything that he has and everything that's coming for him. Very happy for him. I think I could speak for all the faithful when I say we are very, very proud of him and very glad he is part of the 49ers. Another thing that happened was we saw Trey Lance had Debo's back in the whole Debo Gate thing. There was if you guys didn't hear about the whole Debo Gate situation, it was that video that was spread around last week of Debo Samuel ignoring a child and basically telling him that he couldn't sign his football. That whole thing has been debunked at this point, by the way. We learned that, if you guys didn't know already, we learned that a lot of these camps have rules that you can't sign, attendees' items. And if they do, it's in a certain portion of that camp. So this guy pretty much, I guess, didn't follow the rules or something, or expected a signature, an autograph, or what have you, at a point where it was not allowed during this camp. So that's just what happened. And Debo told this kid and his parents that he could not sign the football. Anyway, it just became a way bigger deal than it needed to be. As usual, 49ers Twitter making something out of nothing. People who are upset over Debo Samuel and how he's handled this offseason, projecting pretty much and getting mad at him for pretty much anything. So anyway, so that happened with Debo. Trey Lance came to his defense in a way, and he's got his back based on one of his stories that he posted on Instagram. So that's good to see. We're loving the leadership out of Trey Lance and just him rallying behind his teammates and vice versa, right? Players are also rallying behind him. So we just love to see that, team spirit around the locker room. I mean, real football hasn't even started yet. You can imagine how tight-knit this group may be once that time comes. Speaking about Trey Lance, there's something else I wanted to talk about in regards to him. And it's this whole thing. We've heard about this before. We heard not too long ago, and I forgot who said it last time, but it was someone I wasn't too familiar with. And that guy said he called it arm fitness, putting into question Trey Lance's arm fitness, which at the time I pretty much dismissed that entire comment about Trey Lance's arm fitness. I had never heard anyone say arm fitness to describe a quarterback's ability. So I was like, one, what the hell is arm fitness? And two, who the hell are you? But today, we got a familiar face, someone who has quite the reputation, Mike Silver. He's an NFL reporter, and I actually like Mike Silver. I think he's pretty in tune and connected with the 49ers. Sure, you can point to him saying that Mac Jones was going to be the pick last year, but at the same time, that might have just been out of favor for the 49ers. He might have been doing them a favor by, leading that narrative. As far as I know, like, he does have sources with the 49ers. He's very well connected, as I said. So when he said this, and by the way, he said this on Colin Cowherd's podcast, they were both talking about it, and they pretty much both said the same thing. And they were like, oh, do we have the same source? We might have the same source regarding what they had heard about Trey Lance and the 49ers being concerned about his arm fatigue. So we've heard arm fitness, and now we're hearing arm fatigue. We can assume that's about the same thing, right? The one thing that I wonder when I heard about the arm fitness, the first thing I said was, well, maybe whoever this guy's source was, maybe they were talking about last season, because last season, and we even saw this a little bit, Trey Lance did have some accuracy issues. Not too long ago, Trey Lance admitted that his thumb injury changed or impacted his mechanics. And so I think that's where that came from. Everyone who's talking about arm fitness, arm fatigue, they're talking about last season. Okay, so was it fair last season for the 49ers to have concerns over Trey Lance's accuracy? Sure. But I think the context that everyone is forgetting about, and especially all of these big media, NFL media guys, is the fact that Trey Lance was hurt much of last season. He had that thumb injury. He admitted that it impacted his throwing motion and his accuracy. So that, I think we can safely say, was the main cause for his accuracy issues and this now, arm fatigue that we're talking about. I think it all comes from that thumb injury. And as we know, that was all last season. So what I'm wondering is, why is Mike Silver, why is Colin Cowherd, why is that other guy, why are they talking about this now as if the 49ers are concerned about this now? That's what I don't understand. That's what bothers me. Mike Silver, after this video clip came out, he went to Twitter, and let me see if I could share my screen actually really quick for the people watching on YouTube. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so this is what Mike Silver said. And let me see if I can zoom this in. Yep, I can. All right, so he said, yes, there were some concerns about Trey Lance's accuracy and arm fatigue during his rookie year. Let's talk about that first sentence. There was concerns about Trey Lance's accuracy and arm fatigue during his rookie year. Last year. Why are we talking about this now then? Why are we talking about it now as if the 49ers are presently concerned about his arm and arm fitness and accuracy? Why are we talking about it now? At no point, well, I didn't listen to the entire podcast. Okay, so if I am, saying something inaccurate, let me know. But at no point I saw a 5-minute clip of the video of them talking about this. A 5-minute clip. And in no point in those 5 minutes did either of them say that these concerns were from last year. But Mike Silver, after the fact, posts this tweet that very conveniently tells us, yes, it was from last year, his rookie year. They had concerns in his rookie year. That would have been nice to know. That would have been nice to mention during the podcast. But you know what's going to get the most attention, the most shares, is going to be that video. But only a small percentage of people who see that video are then going to see this tweet and know the context of it, that it is from his rookie season. So that's what I don't understand. And that's what kind of bothers me about this whole situation. So I'm just going to go ahead and ignore this whole arm fatigue, arm fitness thing, just like I was before, because it's not relevant to today. It's not going to be relevant to this upcoming season. All right. I don't even know why we're still having this conversation about it. Genuinely. By the way, I forgot. I got to put my little background. So when I'm solo, let's see which one. This one looks a little bit better. I'm going to stick with this one. All right. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on the whole arm fatigue thing. At this point, I don't care who says it. I believe that it is true, but it was true last season. So we're not going to continue entertaining this today. Okay. That's what we're not going to do. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. Moving on. Yeah, Melissa, a lot of the sources are rumored to be Rich, the former QB coach. Yeah, that's a good point. Rich Scangarello, a lot of people point to him as being the culprit in all this, right? Because he was probably on his way out even before he took his new job. I forgot where he ended up, but he's not with the 49ers now. So, and there was rumors that Trey Lance was not his first choice. Like he probably would have liked Mac Jones. That's the rumor. So it would make sense if that rumor came from Rich Scangarello, kind of bitter about the that decision of drafting Trey Lance. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it could very well be him. Whoever it is, I don't care at this point. I mean, it might have been true. Like, it was probably true because Trey Lance himself told us that he had issues with accuracy due to his thumb injury. So it was true. I'm no longer like complaining about whether it was true or not, I'm not in doubt of whether it was true or not. At this point, I know it's true. It's just, why are we talking about it still? That's my whole thing. That's my thing. But anyway, let's move on here. Let's move on. There's another bit of news that came out today. The 49ers announced that they hired a new team reporter. We miss Kiana Martin, former team reporter. She did a tremendous job reporting for the 49ers, but very excited for Lindsay Perales. She is the new 49ers team reporter. She's formerly of Fox 40 News in Sacramento, and she has a ton of experience reporting football and in several other sports as well. So really excited to see what she brings to the table. Love having another woman in sports in this space. So really looking forward to seeing what she brings to the table. All right. I think that's enough. Like I've talked for like 20 minutes and I haven't even gotten to any of the questions yet. So let's get to some of these questions. As we mentioned, this is a AMA Ask Me Anything edition of the 49 Carats podcast. If you have a question, go ahead, hit it up in the comments. If you are watching this on Twitter, however, I'm not going to see those comments. So make sure you hop on YouTube to watch and comment. Okay. So I'm going to run through some of these questions that I got, starting with Rohan. Hey, shout out Rohan, man. He has his own podcast, and he puts out some great content on 49ers Web Zone. So make sure you go and check Rohan. That's his Twitter right there. Where will the 49ers face their most significant improvement / regression in 2022? All right. Let's see. So significant improvement. Where I see they'll have the most significant improvement is the cornerback position. I think the secondary as a whole, I don't think there'll be a huge drop off. But if we're looking at cornerbacks and safeties separately, I think cornerbacks see the biggest uplift or uptick in production and improved play. So I'm very excited about that group. They drafted a lot of new guys. They had Ambry Thomas and Diamador Lenore, who they drafted last year. So they got some talent who are now depth. They have really good depth at the position. And at the top, they're really good. They added Charvarius Ward. They brought back Jason Barrett, which I'm very excited about. I love that signing. And they still have Emmanuel Mosley, who is often forgotten about, but I say forgotten about, I really mean forgotten by, outsiders, casuals, people who don't follow the 49ers closely. But he is very solid, and he is now going to be the CB2. I fully expect Charvarius Ward to be CB1, and those two together, they're going to be really good. And now they have flexibility when you add Jason Verrett in there, and assuming that he is healthy at any capacity this season, I mean, that alone, they have a lot of flexibility in terms of who may be the nickel and maybe even having different packages just based on what looks they're going up against and whatnot. But I'm really excited about that group. Another thing I will say, I think another area of strong improvement is going to be the special teams unit. The special teams is something that, is kind of overlooked. I think on most cases, we're going to forget they exist. But they're going to be a group that I think is going to be improved far and beyond what they were last year. And I think that's going to impact, it has the potential to impact some games. So I'm very excited for the special teams as well. Now, most significant regression in 2022, I think the obvious answer here is the offensive line. I mean, there are so many questions on that offensive line. And so I think it's only natural that there's going to be some bumps in the road there. And I think most of the struggles that we will see on the offensive line will take place in the first half of the season. I think they'll figure it out as they go, and I think the second half of the season will be much improved. But that first half, you're going to get miscommunications. You're going to get, just a lot of gelling needs to happen with that unit because there's going to be new faces, and individual play might be good, but the offensive line is not always just about individual play. It's about how they work together as a group, as a cohesive unit. So I think that's where we'll see some of the issues in the first half of the season. The really good thing is that Trey Lance, because he is able to move around in the pocket and he has that running ability, he is going to be able to mask some of those issues to a certain extent. So that's the good thing. It's unfortunate he has to deal with that, but I think, he'll be able to mask some of that. So we have that going for us, at least. All right, Melissa, you got a question on the fly. My brother fight about this all the time. He's a Packers fan, so unbiased opinion, big screw job by the refs. The Fail Mary week 1, replace refs, or the Navarro Bowman rule, NFC Championship. what are you like? Are you asking which is worse? So the biggest screw job by the refs. I mean, the Fail Mary was quite the screw job because it was the replacement refs during the whole union thing or whatever with the refs. So there wasn't even like the actual refs. But then maybe that's not so. Maybe you give them some slack based on that because they were replacement refs. And I mean, it's only week 1 too, so it pisses me off because it was the Seahawks were involved and it pretty much gave the Seahawks a win. But just based on the game, I think I'm gonna have to go with the NFC Championship game, Navarro Bowman rule. Yeah, don't mind me. All right. Moving on to the next question. This one is from So Real Sunil. So Anthony Lynn has been able to push running backs with talent to career year type numbers, especially when he has a dual threat quarterback to work with. What do you think his effect will be on Elijah Mitchell? There's a little bit more to that question, but I think it got cut off. He said, what kind of leap can we see in Mitchell in his sophomore year? Top 15, 10, 5? Whew, that's a tough question because, yes, Anthony Lynn does. I think he is going to provide a big boost, and not just to Elijah Mitchell, but really all the running backs in this group. But I think we see the stable of running backs that we have. I think it really goes back to a committee approach. Last year we didn't see it so much because there were so many injuries and the team leaned heavily on Deebo Samuel. But now that Deebo Samuel, we figured he's going to get less carries, I really do think this is going to be a committee at running back. And I'll say this too. I think out of all of the running backs, the one who will get the most carries is actually Ty Davis-Price. So I think Ty Davis-Price is going to get a little bit more involvement, maybe even than Elijah Mitchell. That's my prediction. That's what I think. But, I mean, Elijah Mitchell does have the potential to certainly have a leap. But again, he'll have to do that with less opportunities, because they're going to be sharing the load between all of the different running backs. You had Trey Sermon, who may have a larger role this year. We don't know. But yeah, it's going to be shared. So I really don't see him getting top 15, 10, or 5. But I do think we see a little bit more involvement in the passing game. And, Elijah Mitchell showed that he can be a pretty solid back. And he'll continue to grow on that. But yeah, I don't foresee, top 15 type accolades for Elijah Mitchell. No knock on him. It's just the fact that they're going to be sharing the load, committee approach. So everybody's going to eat pretty much. We had a question from Ryan. What defenders do you think will lead the team in interceptions and sacks? Whew, that's a good question. I like that question because I want to answer the interceptions part first, because I think we often see in the past couple of years, the 49ers secondary has not been the greatest at being ball hawks, right? Like they're very good in coverage, but they're not going to always get you, interceptions and things like that. So who will lead the team in interceptions? Let's see. I'm going to go Fred Warner. I'm going to go Fred Warner because I still think the secondary is very much more of coverage oriented, not so much getting after the ball, but just making sure that the receiver does not get it. So I'm going to go with Fred Warner, who is still one of the best linebackers in the league. And Yeah, I mean, no knock on our secondary at all. I think, they like our secondary. The coaches probably like our secondary being better at coverage. Sometimes when you get interceptions, you kind of have to take chances, and in taking chances, sometimes you might allow a pass that you normally wouldn't have because you went for the interception, things like that. So I think the 49ers prefer their secondary to just focus on covering more so than getting interceptions. But if they come to you, they come to you. So I think Fred Warner has the edge there. Now, who leads the team in sacks? Let's see. I think it'll be between Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa. And I give the edge to Nick Bosa. I think with all of the other additions that they made to this defensive line, they're very deep. I think it only benefits Nick Bosa, who I think is going to have an even better year than he did last year. Scary thought, I know. But I really do feel that way. So that's what I think. So most interceptions, my prediction is Fred Warner. Most sacks, I think Nick Bosa. All right. Let's go to the next question here. Well, let me go to this comment really quick from Melissa. I stay with my guy Elijah Mitchell, but Ty is intriguing. Plus top 15. Usually our Cowboy players. I'm not in the stats alone. Most of that is in fourth quarter or subpar division. That's another good point. When the 49ers have a really large lead, or even the Cowboys, like you say, when they have a really large lead, they're going to just continue running, and that it helps their running backs get some more carries and more yardage and things like that. So, yeah, maybe that does favor the Cowboys running backs or another team's running backs. But it does favor the 49ers too. That's a really good point. But, again, when you're spreading it out through so many players, you're just not going to get the same volume in yardage as you would if there was, one or two guys, handling the load. All right, let's go to the next question here from BDubs49. Who was your favorite player as a kid? All right, I like this question. My favorite player as a kid, and it wasn't really like a kid. Like, I don't want you to think I was like little. Okay, I was little because I was probably below 5 feet because I'm only 5 feet now, but I wasn't that young. I started watching the 49ers kind of like teenage years, so I wasn't really a kid. But my favorite player when I, first started watching them, Frank Gore. Frank Gore, he stood the test of time. No matter how many changes this team had, Frank Gore was a constant. And not only was he a constant, him being on the roster, but just his impact. He was always a good player. And up until he, retired and he was on a team in the NFL, really, I think the whole time that I was a football fan, Frank Gore was in the NFL the entire time up until, he retired. So getting used to an NFL without Frank Gore, it's a little weird. But yeah, he was definitely my favorite player as a kid and still is one of my favorite 49ers to this day. So next question we got, let's see. What's your best memory as a 49ers fan? I love this question as well. My favorite memory as a 49ers fan it just has to be the pick at the stick, okay? I think I'm a little biased to this. A lot of people will give you one of two answers, at least for some of the younger fans. They'll say either the game against the Saints where Alex Smith scored that touchdown, or they'll give you the pick at the stick. And I lean pick at the stick because I was there. And so, like, that energy at Candlestick was unmatched, okay? Not only – I think the biggest thing was that it was the last regular season game at Candlestick. Like, I didn't witness all of the Super Bowl era because I was just so young. So I didn't see any of the Super Bowl wins myself, right? But I was 3 years old when they won their last one in 94. But I just know, being a 49ers fan, how important Candlestick was to the history of that team. And I really do feel like Candlestick, it just had this magic. It was a dump, it was pure concrete everywhere, cracks, and it was a dump, but it was our dump. it was just a great place. And I really do feel like the magic of Candlestick came through for that one play, because we were so close to losing that game. And I really thought to myself, God damn, like, we're really going to lose the last game at Candlestick. We can't go out like that. We can't. And then lo and behold, the pick at the stick happens, and that place erupted. It felt like an earthquake. And so I'll never forget that game. I'll never forget that moment. And yeah, that's definitely my favorite memory as a 49ers fan, for sure. Let's see. Melissa, Steph, did you like me lose it when Frank Gore broke the record to reach 3 as a Bill? Yeah, I mean, I followed Frank Gore's career, pretty much his whole career. I mean, how could you not root for him? He was such a huge part of the 49ers. And not only was he a huge part of the 49ers, but even after he went to other teams, like, he still openly rooted for the 49ers, and you can just tell he had the 49ers had such a huge part in his heart, as big as, we have for him, basically. So, yeah, man, I love Frank Gore. JC, what up, JC? It's always a party when JC comes on. Like, yes, love it. Yeah, so let's go to the next question here. I liked that question, though, about my best memory as a fan. That was a good one. NBA Seattle asks, how did you get indoctrinated as one of the faithful? We'd love to know your story. Indoctrinated, that's a word, man. That sounds very serious. Like, I don't know if I've been indoctrinated as a faithful, but I'm just going to assume, like, how did I get started as a faithful? So I guess I would say, so I always was a fan of the 49ers, dating back to, like I said, preteens, teenage years is when I really started watching, because it was when I started, like, understanding football, right? Like, I understood what I was watching. And I really didn't get to that next level of fandom until I got on Twitter. Because, like, Twitter, you get so much more, I guess, coverage or just, like, insight into the 49ers, or just, like, sports in general, than you would anywhere else, especially back then. Not a few years ago, it was probably like 10 or more years ago at this point. But that opened up, like, a whole new world of just, like, coverage of the 49ers, I guess, and an inside look to the team. And so I think that really, it was like giving me a shot of adrenaline of fandom, basically, for the 49ers. Like, once I got onto the 49ers Twitter, like, it was a wrap. I was, like, locked in, and I knew everything about the team. I was obsessed. And that's when I was inspired at that point to create a Twitter fan page. You guys might know it as 49ers Hub. So yeah, I started that page, and it was really because I love the team so much, and I wanted to, share that excitement with everyone else, not break news, but, like, tweet out news for the fans and things like that. So I would say that's really when I became indoctrinated as one of the faithful, and I've just been ride or die ever since. So yeah, that's what I would say. What's up, JC? Just dripping over here. You see the chains. I had to bring the chains out just in case, JC hopped on, because now that I'm known as the drip god, I got to keep it up. I can't be caught slipping at any point. I got to look swaggy all the time. It's a lot of pressure, actually, just so you know. Let's go to the next question. Melissa, you're in luck because now we're getting into your questions. And again, shout out to Melissa because she put on a full court press to get all these questions in and encourage other people to ask questions. So shout out to her, okay? Her first question: thoughts on Charvarius Ward, and is it weird I'm more excited for this guy than Jimmy, as in Jimmy Ward? I don't think it's weird that you're more excited. I mean, Jimmy Ward, he's been so consistent on this team as far as one, how long he's been on the roster, and also just his play, right? Like he's been such an important part and a solid part of the 49ers success in their secondary. He doesn't always get all that love, but he needs to, okay? And Charvarius Ward, it's okay to be excited or more excited about him than Jimmy Ward because Charvarius is the new face. He's a new guy. I am very much looking forward to seeing what Charvarius Ward does on this team, and I think he's going to be better than a lot of fans think or initially thought. I wasn't like immediately blown away by that signing, but the more I heard about him and learned about him and watched clips of him, I'm excited, like without a doubt. So I don't think it's weird, Melissa. All right, next question. Bigger Bosa snub. No vote for CPOY or Crosby for PB / All Pro. I mean, they're both just terrible and egregious. I think that's how you say that, right? Egregious. No, egregious. On Bosa, like come on now. Both is just a terrible look for whoever the hell comes up with these or votes for these. But I would say the biggest, that's tough, man. They're both terrible. But I would say like CPOY, like Bosa should have had that in the bag. In the bag. There's absolutely no like excuse for him to not get it. But I'm gonna go with All Pro. I think that was the biggest snub because you look at Nick Bosa's season, he had an All Pro season, but he didn't get the All Pro honors. Crosby got it though, who I think Bosa had a better year than Crosby did. So I think that's the biggest snub, but both were, yes, thank you. I know how to spell it. I just don't know how to pronounce it. I mispronounce things like in every episode. I'm due for like one an episode. So that was the one. Egregious. I think egregious. That's how you say it. Egregious. All right. So yeah, it was egregious that he was not, or that he was snubbed for both of those. All right. Let's go to the next question. From Melissa. Melissa, I kind of, so you said Jason or Mike, who is more worrying being named starter and not being healthy. I filled in the blank here because I assumed by Jason you meant Jason Poe, because I don't think there's another Jason on the team. And Mike, I'm assuming you meant McGlinchey, both of which are hurt or coming back from an injury. So Jason Poe, I don't think he's going to play at all this year. I think he's going to redshirt his rookie season. And in a way, it's good. One, because the 49ers don't need him to play right away. And two, it keeps a roster spot open. I think he'll probably end up on the NFI or the PUP list this season. So it just opens up another roster spot. So I'm okay with Jason Poe, not having any playing time this year. That's fine. As far as Mike McGlinchey goes, am I worried? Yes and no. I mean, based on everything I've heard in regards to his rehab, it seems to be going well. Of course, you never really know until like you put the pads on and you start playing like real games. It might take some time for him to get used to that game speed, right? There's nothing like it. So maybe that might be the only thing I'm worried about, but I'm not too worried. I think he's going to be okay, even if he's not as good as he used to be. He's still going to be serviceable, and that's all that matters, really. Oh, Jason. Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett. Okay, you're right. Sorry, Jason Verrett. So ignore me about Jason Poe. Ignore that I said anything I said about Poe. Jason Verrett. Am I worried about him being named starter and not being healthy? If they signed him, the fact that they re-signed him tells me that he is healthy in this moment. But I mean, there's always that worry about him re-injuring himself, right? He has a long history of injuries, and so there's always that chance. But I like the chances because they didn't give up a lot of money to get him. He's on a very cheap, team-friendly contract. And so anything you can get out of Jason Verrett, I think, is fine. And it would just be a bonus, to be honest, if he is a starter in any capacity. So I'm not worried about Verrett at all. I'm actually really excited to see what he does. And like I said, him being out there, in addition to having Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley, it just opens up another it just opens up more possibilities and more flexibility, and they can move guys around. That's the beauty of it. They can move guys around based on who they're going up against, what looks they're going up against, and things like that. So I'm very excited, and I'm not worried in the least bit about Jason Verrett. If he gets hurt, I mean, that's obviously going to be unfortunate, but we gotta be hopeful. We gotta have some hopeful thinking. We gotta manifest good things. Okay, so I'm manifesting that Jason Verrett is going to be healthy all season, and he's going to have a great role with this team this year. All right. Next question. I already got that one. Bigger year 2 leap, Talanoa Hufanga or Elijah Mitchell? It's a great question. I think and this kind of goes back to the question that Sunil asked earlier, right? About like what I think about Elijah Mitchell, like what kind of leap can he see? And I really think when we talk about leap, I think his ceiling gets capped a little bit by the fact that there are other running backs that are going to have to share carries. So I think that caps his ceiling. That doesn't cap his talent. He may very well have improved on some of the things he wasn't as good on last year. But I think I'm going to have to say Talanoa Hufanga on this one because he is undoubtedly going to be, well, I shouldn't say undoubtedly, but he is going to have a larger role for the 49ers. I think we can, even if he's not, right now I'm assuming that Hufanga is going to start at safety opposite Jimmy Ward. And so I'm going to give him the edge on this one. But obviously, if Hufanga does not get that starting job, then I have to change my answer to Elijah Mitchell. All right, JC, thanks for watching, man. Always love when you're on here. You catch the replay after. Just saying. All right, one more question. Let's see. Oh, one second. I made this one a ticker. Here we go. More likely back-to-back dominant years, Debo or Azeez? Whoo-hoo. I like this question a lot. This is a tough one. This is a very tough one. And I'm going to go with, well, first, I'm gonna give my thoughts on Debo. Because Debo, as great as he was last year, I think he's going to have a different role this year. He's not going to be as involved. He's not going to get as many carries, I should say. He might still be very involved, but he's not going to get as many carries, which I think that may cap his ceiling because if you're talking about him as a receiver, it's not that he's not as good as a receiver, but at that point he has to compete with Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings for catches, so he has some competition there, I should say. So he might still have a great year, and it might still be a dominant year, but I don't think it's quite as dominant as it was last year. I don't think we'll ever see that again out of Deebo Samuel or maybe anyone. So I'm going to go with Aziz Al-Shaair. What I saw from Aziz last season, he took a huge leap, and he kind of he made us forget a little bit about Greenlaw, if I'm being honest. I know you guys like Greenlaw, but Aziz kind of took his spot, so I'm going to go with Aziz. I think he continues having a big season, and he doesn't have to compete with anyone for that role. Like, he has his role, and I think he's due for another dominant season, especially when he's playing next to Fred Warner. I mean, as a group, those two, watch out. Watch out. All right. Oh, I did it again. Okay, this one needs to be, have you watched Silverback Doc? If so, what are your thoughts? I have not watched the Silverback Doc. And for those of you who don't know what that is Trent Williams' documentary about his life and his football career. And of course, it touched on his struggle with cancer a few years back. Man, I really got to watch it. Is it on a streaming platform? Let me know, because if it's on YouTube or a streaming platform, yeah, let me know. I got to go watch that for sure. And before the season starts, I need to do that. Better Levi's playoff win, a divisional against the Vikings or Green Bay NFC Championship game? I mean, I always like, it's nice to play against Kirk Cousins and have Kyle Shanahan beat Kirk Cousins. But my God, there's no greater feeling than beating the Packers, especially in the playoffs. Like, it's it's a tradition at this point. So I gotta give the edge to Green Bay NFC Championship game. Yeah, I just have to. Hey, Kiyoki, man, what's going on, dude? Man, I haven't talked to you in so long. Okay, we gotta catch up after this, but thanks for watching. All right, we got a question from Melissa. Bigger special season, George Kittle 2018 or Deebo Samuel 2021? I got to go with Deebo Samuel, because what he did was, not only was it unprecedented, but what he did was something a lot of players never did and will maybe never do. So I think it was just so unique in that, he was able to play pretty much two positions and excel at both of them. I have to give the edge to Deebo Samuel here, but obviously Kittle's 2018 season was also amazing. I got to give them both props. All right, the Silverback Doc, Trent Williams. It's available on Prime Video, free for Prime members. Okay, I do have Prime, so I'm going to check that out. And if any of you guys watching have not watched the Silverback documentary, go ahead, check that out on Prime Video as well. Yes, beating Aaron Rodgers is indeed the best. No doubt about that. All right, next question. Bigger surprise, how game was won, wild card at Dallas with the clock running out, or the divisional in Green Bay with Jordan Willis being a part of the blocked punt and field goal? I mean, the way the 49ers won in Dallas was obviously, it was more bizarre than anything. I was somewhat surprised, I guess, but with that game against the Packers, the divisional game, that was, I thought we were going to lose. Like, I was watching that game and I really had little to no hope. Like, after they punted the ball to the Packers, right before they blocked that punt, the 49ers blocked the punt, I thought we were done. And even I thought we were just done. So, and even if they had successfully, carried out that punt, I still felt like there was no chance. Like, our offense was dead in the water. The whole team just seemed dead in the water. I didn't have much hope at that point. So that Jordan Willis play literally saved that season and that playoff run, at least for a little bit longer. So I'm gonna go with that one. Is Charlie Warner TE2 now? You know what? I don't know about tight end, man. After George Kittle, it's just a huge question mark to me, and that's the one question mark that we are not talking enough about. Okay? Who the hell is TE2? I don't know. It could be Warner. It could be Dwelly, but I feel like Dwelly he's had his chance and he's still on this roster, so obviously they like him for something, but I mean, I guess it's time to see what Warner can do in TE2, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets this year. I think the receiving core is so much better than it's been in years past that maybe it doesn't even matter who's tight end 2, right? It'll only matter if, God forbid, George Kittle goes down with any injury. And yeah, again, we're only manifesting good things, so let's just say that does not happen. Okay. All right. Bigger year, BA or JJ? So Brandon Ayuk or Juwan Jennings? Who has a bigger year? This is a good one. This is a tough one because I'm really rooting for both of these guys to have really good years. Brandon Ayuk, with what he went through last year, being in the doghouse for much of the first half of the season. Juwan Jennings being that undrafted guy that has surprised everybody. You guys know I love Juwan Jennings. I am Juwan Jennings hive to the core. But who has a bigger year? It really depends on Trey Lance, right? And what kind of offense he's going to be running. Is he going to be taking more chances downfield? If so, I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. But if he's more of a chain mover, which is okay, that's okay, because that's still, if you move the chains, that's all good with me. But if he does more of that, then that favors Juwan Jennings. I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk has a monster year this year. He's been working with Trey Lance quite a lot since the end of last season. So I think that chemistry we're going to see that on the field. So I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. But that's a close one. And you are, pitting me against 2 of my favorite guys right there. Come on. All right. Choice to be opposite of Nick Bosa. Okay. Who's going to be opposite of Nick Bosa? I think in the first half of the season, or much of the season, we see a committee approach to the other end, opposite Nick Bosa, and I think that's fine. I think they'll be really effective for the first few weeks of the season. They're going to see which guy in that rotation is the most effective and who's the best guy who complements Nick Bosa well and things like that. And obviously Drake Jackson is going to get some run there. He's going to get some chances, but I don't think he's going to have a huge involvement, at least in the first half of the season. If he proves that he can take on a larger role, then yeah, I mean, he's going to be that guy. But I don't have one clear-cut guy who I think is going to be, the starter every week. I don't know, though. Maybe in training camp we'll see what shakes out in that. But I mean, obviously Drake Jackson has the edge, but there's so many talented guys that I don't know. Ask me again in a month. How about that? All right. Bigger emotional defensive win. 5 firsts with a sack in Levi's first playoff against Minnesota, or the pick up the stick with 53 to end Candlestick. You probably already know what I'm leaning towards here. The most emotional, not just defensive win, but maybe one of the most emotional wins that I've seen in my time being a fan of the 49ers is the pick at the stick. Like I said earlier, my favorite memory. So I got to go with pick at the stick here. Just holds a special place in my heart, man. Never forget that moment. Is Drake Jackson the first overall defensive line pick for the 49ers? Is he the last first overall defensive line pick? See, I don't know. Last? Man, the 49ers love their defensive linemen, and even if it seems like they are squared away and they have plenty of defensive linemen, they cannot help themselves to get another if they are presented with the opportunity. So I am going to go with no. I mean, they love their defensive linemen, and for good reason. They have been very successful with a lot of their early defensive lineman picks. So, well, I don't know if I can say that because we still have yet to see what Javon Kinlaw could be, and Solomon Thomas was a thing that happened. So, I don't know if I can say that. But no, I don't think it's their last first overall defensive lineman pick. All right, we'll definitely see another. All right, more improved because of coach and players running or special? More improved because of coach and players. Oh, running back or special teams? That's tough. Most improved. That's really tough. Because obviously the running back room left a lot to be desired last year, and that's why Elijah Mitchell was pretty much a one-man show. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think they added some guy. Well, they added Ty Davis Price, George Mason, or is it Jordan Mason? I don't remember. Mason. And also Anthony Lynn, who I think is going to prove to be a huge addition to this team. But I'm going to go with special teams. I really think they made a lot of great improvements to the special teams, and it's not being talked about enough. We are going to start a dialogue. Special teams is going to be good this year, okay? Be ready for it. All right. 1-year deals you want to stay long-term. Good question. I don't remember all of the 49ers 1-year deals, so I'm just kind of going to go based off of who I remember. Juwan Jennings, he is technically on a 1-year deal because he was I believe, restricted free agent last year. So technically, he's on a 1-year. So I'm going to go with Juwan Jennings. Now, I don't know if they bring him back. But again, this is one of those questions where I'm kind of guessing, right? Because it really depends on the kind of season that one player has this year. And so ask me again at the end of the season. I'm sure I'll be answering that. But for now, I'm going to go with Juwan Jennings. And I do think he has a very solid year this year. And yeah, he would be my pick. What's going on? Juwan Jennings is my must-stay. Yeah, I like Juwan Jennings. But again, they also have to bring back Brandon Ayuk. Well, they don't have to bring back Brandon Ayuk, but he is due to be extended as well. Assuming that Deebo Samuel comes back, do they really keep all three of those guys? That's the one question I have. That's my main question. Do they keep all three of those guys? And I don't know. I don't know if they do. But guys, those were all the questions. I appreciate all of you who submitted a question. Melissa, again, shout out to you for, helping me out on this and making sure that this was a successful show. I don't even know if I would have any questions to answer if it wasn't for you, Melissa. So definitely shout out to you. Sin says, I like Juwan Jennings too. Yeah. I mean, Juwan Jennings Hive over here. I'm expecting a big season out of him. He's just going to continue to get better. So really excited about that. Melissa says, Greenlaw and Al-Shaair are two big ones as well. Are they both on 1-year deal? Is Al-Shaair? Oh, yes, he is. Al-Shaair is on a 1-year deal as well. They have to extend him. They have to. Greenlaw, I don't know. Greenlaw, I know a lot of people like him, and I like him too. It's not that I don't. But I could see them moving on from Greenlaw. the linebacker group is always good. There's just something about how they're able to develop linebackers that they can pretty much, if Greenlaw goes, there'll be another next man up. There'll be another guy who's really good. But Al-Shaair, he needs to come back. They need to extend him. So that's a good one, Melissa. That would be another must bring back as well. Could definitely make the case for that. All right, we're over an hour over here. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and do that. If you are already subscribed, like this video. Even if you aren't subscribed, like this video, okay? Show love. And yeah, appreciate you guys. We're so close to training camp. I am going to be at training camp this year, so the coverage is not going to stop. The content is not going to stop. So keep it locked here on my channel. And yes, I appreciate the support, guys. All right, peace.